Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Today is going to be a continuation on the What's New for TopSolid version 7.16 or TopSolid 2022, whatever you want to call it. My name is Bill Gantz. I'm the Sales and Technical Director here at TopSolid USA. I am joined by Joe Hart, our Technical Manager, and Mike Kay, our Sales Manager. We'll do our best to answer questions along the way. Let's see. So, the first webinar this morning is going to be all about new improvements to TopSolid'Cam's drilling commands. All right, so without further delay, we're just going to go right at it. So, over here. So the first thing that we're going to talk about in what's new for drilling has to do with manufacturing features. It used to be, if you've used manufacturing features in the past, it used to be that you had to activate them in the design document, which is done right here. You also had to activate them in the machine part setup document, and then you could use them inside of TopSolid'Cam. The improvement is that it is no longer necessary to activate them in the machine part setup document and in the machining document to inherit them. That's what you used to have to do. Now, they're just active by default. Okay, so if you want to use manufacturing features, you turn them on and off here in the design document. And what happens is you get a manufacturing feature folder. Okay, if I turn them off, you don't get the manufacturing feature folder in the entities tree. If, for example, I turn them off here and I go to my machine part setup document, you'll see that in the entities tree here, they no longer exist, which means manufacturing features will not be considered in the CAM document. If we go back to design, turn them on here, you now have your manufacturing features. And then we go back to our machine part setup document, and of course you have them here. And then of course you'll have them in CAM as well. I have a comment that you can't hear me. It's all distorted. Does anyone else have any issues hearing my voice? No. Okay. So it seems that, Dale, maybe it's your internet connection. So let's just keep going and maybe your internet connection will clean up. Or if you want to try logging out and logging back in. Either way, this is being recorded, so if you're having a problem with the broadcast, you'll be able to watch the playback next week. Okay, so that is the first point. Let's keep on going. Item number 2, search field options. Let's open up this. So today, when you go into a drilling, okay, and you go to geometry, you have search options here. That's not new. We've had that for a long time. A couple things about search options. First of all, we've added the same color as a search option, which is kind of nice. This way, if you pre-color your drillings, you can search by color now, which is fantastic. But more importantly, you can now set the default search options that you want on. And this is controlled in Tools Options. And we go down to Drillings, under the CAM options here, and you see your search options here. So for example, if I always wanted same diameter, same depth, same altitude on by default, I can select that. And then when I go launch into my hole machinings, you can see now those 3 are selected. Perfect. All right. The next point, again with manufacturing features. So, couple things. First, manufacturing features, they are a way of carrying forward the manufacturing information of the drilling, okay? One of the improvements this year is that based on the manufactured feature that you select, when I right click and go to drilling, it loads the correct kind of machining automatically, so you don't have to go and set it. For example, if I select the manufacturing feature for the counterbore here, and I go to hole machining, it switches automatically to spot facing. If I do this for the tapped hole, let me rotate this a little bit so you have two here. You have for the tapped hole and then the drilling of the tapped hole, right? So if I select the tapped hole, you get the tapped hole. Now, if I go back to my design document and I turn off my manufacturing features, fine. We come into here. Oops, I have a rebuild error, no big deal. Just lost a reference. I just want to show you that it works on standard drillings as well. So if I go to hole machining here, boom, spot facing, drilling, hole machining, we're on drilling. Of course, you can change it at any time. Tapping, rotate down so we can see inside there. There's the drilling. So again, it's just making it a little bit smarter so that you guys can program parts a little bit faster. This next one, there's not much to show as more there is to talk about. For those of you that work on mill turn machines, and more importantly, let's turn on the machine so that we can just see everything a little easier. On the subspindle side, when doing axial drilling, sometimes it would want to drill on the wrong side of the part, and you would have to go into the axial operation. Example, I'll go here. You'd have to go into the axial operation here, and you'd have to type a shift angle in of 180 degrees. Again, it depended on the operation, but this could happen, and so this is what you had to do. So the improvement this year is the fact that we have resolved that once and for all. So now you no longer care, you just go process your parts and you don't have to deal with the shift angle unless you purposely are trying to shift the machining to be somewhere else along the diameter of the part. Okay? All right, I think someone likes that improvement. That's good. All right, so next, drilling with partial cylinders. Okay. By the way, on that last one, for those of you who run into this, if you're opening a file from 7.15 or earlier, you need to use the upgrade command. Make sure that you upgrade to the latest DLLs, the latest functionality. Otherwise, you still have to manage that manually if you don't do the upgrade. All right, next one has to do with drilling analysis, okay, and finding of partial cylinders. So if you look at my dinky little sample here, we have some holes that have, or some drillings that are not full diameter holes, and we want to be able to find just specific ones. So if I go into my analysis of drillings and cylinders, okay, and we look at what's been found so far, okay, so we have that one, and that's it. The reason for that is because of the angle set here. Okay, so if you noticed, I've added some dimensions on here. Okay, so that we can see what angle these features are at. So the idea here is it's going to look at everything that angle or greater. So if you wanted to find everything, you type 0 there, you redo the analysis, and we have found everything. If you want to find everything that's at, 289 or greater, for example, type that in, redo the analysis, and now we've found everything that's at 289 or greater. Okay, so it's just a way to help you find the drillings that or the holes you're looking to drill and filter through them more quickly. Perfect. Okie dokie. Next one. This one's kind of interesting. I think it's a very specific improvement personally, but we're going to talk about it nonetheless. So you have a part, right? And this is clearly a demonstration part, but you have a part where you have some holes that are through holes. I like this darn hole. There we go. It's a through hole. And here, let's just do this. Let's make you maybe a little bit transparent. That way we can see better. So you can see there is a through hole going down to my reverse steer step here. okay, and some blind holes back there. And the whole idea here is when we do these drillings, I'm going to delete that for now, we want to protect the overlength of the drill from hitting this surface here. So this improvement is about setting a minimum length to consider, okay, in order to protect. So if I do a quick analysis in here, just so everyone knows where we're at, if I go from here to here, that's 10, right? This one here to here, that's 15, that's going to be 20, 25, okay? So what you can do in your document options, and you can set this globally, by the way, in tools options as well, but you can control it locally in your document options. You go to CAM, and I believe it's under the analysis section. We can come down to here and say check blind hole as through hole, and then you can set a clearance factor, okay? Now, I'm going to click OK here, and I'm going to go pick maybe this hole. So if I go to drilling, you can see it's putting a through hole over length, right? Cancel that. Let's go select this hole. Drilling, hole machining. And now if you notice, it's protecting against that face because of that clearance factor of 25 millimeters we set. Now, if I tell it to go find all of them, not the same altitude, in depth, pardon me. There we go. And now we look at this. All my standard blind holes that are back there, of course, are correct. And now if we look at these, going up the stair steps, again, that was 10, 15 millimeters, 20, 25. All of those are being held back, but then the rest of these are getting an appropriate through drill. So again, the goal here is just to give you a control on the underside of the hole where you're breaking through to check against faces that are considered finish faces that you might have otherwise potentially collided with based on your drilling overlength. Okay? And even if you type a bigger drilling overlength in for these will always be protected. Cool. All right, let's move on down. So the next one is matching machining process during the analysis. Okay. So in the analysis of drillings and cylinders, it is possible to ask TopSolid to take an associated machining process that was applied during design, and I'll show this again here in a minute. This option appears in the machining document options. So first of all, if I go into here and I edit these two drillings, right, and I go down to here, you can see I've assigned a machining process to them. If you remember from in the webinar yesterday when I was showing some drilling automation, I was using my association documents there, okay, for milling, but you have association documents for drillings as well, okay? So if I go into here, and again, we go into our CAM options. So I'm in my document options for CAM. In analyses, you can take into consideration the machining process that's associated already. So you have to activate this in the document. If it's checked, and we go do an analysis of drillings and cylinders, it's going to take and associate the correct machining features automatically. So on this case, for these two holes, because we applied an associated document to them already, it's identified the right methodology to use for those holes. Okay? And again, just to kind of give you guys something to think about, it doesn't have to necessarily be a native TopSolid drilling. You can apply the association document to imported things as well. Okay? Or you can use FreeShape to identify those drillings, convert them back to TopSolid drillings, and then apply your associations that way as well. So again, it's just ways to help guide automation to get to that finish line faster. Leo. Alrighty. So, this one's a silly one that, in my opinion, should have always been there, but it wasn't. Now it is. You guys can applaud. At the end of the day, the improvement is back spot facing with a plunge in rapid. So, if we go look here, and we go into our settings, go to the parameters tab, you have your back machining feed rates down here, and now you have the ability to set it to rapid for your entry. Okay, super silly. It was missing. If we go and simulate this, again, we're in rapid right now, right? So you can see rapid, rapid, rapid down, feed over, feed up, retract, and out. Okay? And you can even have the retract be rapid out if you want. I knew there would be a clap, clap, clap in there somewhere. Good job. Alrighty. So, this next one, maybe some of you have run into. Again, dink little sample part. It's the process that's more important. So, in drilling, when you are using a chip breaking cycle, sometimes, if you don't set your altitudes to be correct, okay, let me set this to be like so. All right, let me back up. If you don't set your altitudes correct, you don't get a cycle, okay? And what this means is if you start screwing with your altitudes where it's starting, where it's approaching, all that stuff, then you get longhand code in TopSolid. So the improvement is this. If we go, again, you have a chip breaking cycle active, you go into altitudes, you now have this, this option here, local equals starting altitude, which means whatever you set this to, this will be set to automatically, okay? So if I set this to 20 millimeters, you can see it raised it up. That's perfect. If I go to generate G-code on here, go, you can see cycle, okay? Now, if you go and override the altitudes, this is the default setting now here, and I go to a value, and I say 10, for example, and then I go generate my G-code. Now you're back to longhand code. Okay? So the improvement there is the out-of-the-box controlling of altitudes is going to do what's necessary to maintain a functional cycle without you having to pay attention too much to what you're doing. If you go in and start messing around with all the altitudes, you need to check your work, because if certain things don't line up, and again, this depends on the control, if certain things don't line up, we're going to automatically switch to longhand code, because now you are no longer using a standard cycle. You're creating a custom drilling, in fact. Okay? And as you just saw, the post will adapt automatically either way. Okay? Perfect. Alrighty. And then this last one, again, it's an analysis thing. It just gives you the ability. So if we go to analysis of drillings and cylinders, it gives you the ability to tell the solution, and oops, I saved something in here, sorry. Go get rid of some things. Perfect. Do it again. All right, so now we have a clean analysis. So if we look at this hole, there's a chamfer at the bottom of the counterbore, okay? If we look at this one, there's no chamfer, no chamfer. If we look at this one, there's chamfer. So there's 3 different types of holes, all with the same diameters, but the chamfers make them different. So what you can do now is you can tell it on the geometry to ignore the chamfers and fillets. And ignore the chamfers and fillets. Oops. And now you can assign then one standard methodology to all of those holes, because otherwise they're all identical. So it's just a way to bypass maybe design mistakes that were done by an engineer and get the machining controlled the way you want them as one operation. Cool. Alrighty, so as you saw this time around, I'm not using PowerPoints back and forth just because I think it's simpler just to flow through all these cam operations this way. This concludes the What's New for TopSolid'Cam for drillings today. If I go back to my little presentation, go to the next slide. The next webinar will start at 11 a.m. Central Time, and here we're going to focus on 2D milling improvements. So if anyone has any questions on these new drilling improvements, type them in. We'll do our best to answer. Otherwise, I will see you guys and talk to you guys in a little while.